Imagine taking a pill, thinking it's your usual dose, only to discover it's 10 times stronger than what you need. This isn't science fiction. It's the reality faced by patients caught in a massive drug recall. In this video, we'll uncover how a tiny labeling error snowballed into a nationwide crisis, putting thousands at risk. The story of clonazepam's recall is more than just a cautionary tale. It's a journey into the intricate world of pharmaceutical safety. At a bustling pharmaceutical packaging facility, a worker goes about their daily routine. They're part of a third-party company contracted by Endo Incorporated to package their popular anti-anxiety medication, clonazepam. These outsourced packagers play a crucial role in the pharmaceutical supply chain, handling the final steps before drugs reach pharmacies and patients. On this particular day, a small mistake occurs. The worker, perhaps distracted or fatigued, incorrectly inputs data into the labeling machine. It's a simple error, one that could easily go unnoticed amidst the thousands of packages processed each day. But in the world of pharmaceuticals, even the tiniest oversight can have far-reaching consequences. The mislabeling affects the cartons containing clonazepam tablets. Each carton is designed to hold 60 tablets, neatly arranged in 10 blister strips of 6 tablets each. The worker's mistake results in these cartons being printed with the wrong strength and National Drug Code, or NDC. It's a discrepancy that's hard to spot at a glance, especially when the blister strips and tablets inside remain correctly labeled. This contrast between the mislabeled exterior and the accurate interior creates a dangerous scenario. A pharmacist or patient relying solely on the carton's information could easily misunderstand the medication's potency. The potential for dosage errors looms large, with patients at risk of taking too much or too little of this powerful benzodiazepine. As the mislabeled cartons move down the production line, they're packed into larger boxes and prepared for shipment. Quality control measures, designed to catch such errors, somehow fail to detect the discrepancy. The mistake, initially confined to a single worker's station, begins to multiply. Days pass, and the error spreads. What started as a momentary lapse in attention has now affected not just one batch, but multiple lots of clonazepam. The true scale of the mistake only becomes apparent later. 16 lots of the medication, spanning various strengths, have been compromised. These mislabeled packages now stand ready to enter the complex web of pharmaceutical distribution. From warehouses to delivery trucks, from pharmacy shelves to patients' medicine cabinets, the error is poised to travel far and wide. As the cartons leave the packaging facility, no one yet realizes the chain of events that has been set in motion, a butterfly effect that will soon trigger a nationwide recall and put thousands of patients at risk. The mislabeled clonazepam cartons have begun their journey, but it's about to face a gauntlet of quality checks and inspections. In theory, these safeguards should catch any errors. In practice, things aren't always so simple. As we trace the path of these compromised medications, we'll uncover surprising gaps in the pharmaceutical supply chain that allowed a simple labeling mistake to snowball into a nationwide recall. From the packaging facility, the clonazepam cartons are first transported to large pharmaceutical wholesalers. These middlemen act as a crucial link between manufacturers and pharmacies, storing vast quantities of medications in sprawling warehouses. Here, the first opportunity to catch the mislabeling arises. Workers conduct spot checks on incoming shipments, verifying that the contents match the accompanying paperwork. However, the sheer volume of products moving through these facilities makes thorough inspection of every package impractical. Next, the medications are distributed to pharmacies across the country. This leg of the journey introduces additional complexities. Tracking individual medication lots becomes increasingly challenging as shipments are broken down and redistributed. A single lot might be split between dozens of pharmacies in different states, making it difficult to pinpoint the exact location of every affected package. Time is another factor working against detection of the error. Days, sometimes weeks, can pass between when a medication is packaged and when it reaches its final destination. During this period, countless hands touch the product, yet the mislabeling remains unnoticed. This delay not only increases the number of potentially affected patients, but also complicates the eventual recall process. As pharmacies receive their clonazepam shipments, another opportunity for discovery presents itself. Pharmacists and technicians typically perform a cursory check of new stock, comparing the received items against their order forms. However, the subtle nature of the labeling error, a discrepancy between the carton and the blister packs inside, makes it easy to overlook during routine processing. The scale of this distribution becomes apparent when we consider the numbers. In 2021 alone, approximately 2.5 million prescriptions for clonazepam were filled in the United States. While not all of these would have been affected by the recall, it illustrates the vast network through which the mislabeled medication could spread. As days turn into weeks, the compromised clonazepam lots find their way onto pharmacy shelves across the nation. Pharmacists unknowingly dispense the medication to patients, who trust that the information on the label accurately reflects the contents within. The stage is now set for a potentially dangerous situation where patients might receive and take incorrect doses of their medication, completely unaware of the risk. Imagine relying on a medication to keep your anxiety or seizures under control, only to discover it might be doing more harm than good. For millions of clonazepam users, this scenario isn't just a hypothetical, it's a very real possibility. Let's explore why this particular labeling mistake could have life-altering consequences. Clonazepam, a medication belonging to the benzodiazepine class, plays a crucial role in managing seizures and panic disorders. It works by calming the nervous system and decreasing abnormal electrical activity in the brain. Patients typically take clonazepam 1 to 3 times a day, with dosages carefully tailored to their specific conditions and responses to treatment. But what happens when the dose a patient takes isn't what they think it is? The risks associated with incorrect clonazepam dosing are significant and potentially dangerous. Taking too much of the medication can lead to severe adverse reactions, including intense sedation, confusion, and dizziness. Patients might experience diminished reflexes, making simple tasks like driving or operating machinery hazardous. In more severe cases, a person could develop ataxia, struggling to coordinate their movements, or hypotonia, where their muscle tone becomes abnormally low. The danger escalates for certain groups of patients. Those with pre-existing pulmonary conditions face an increased risk of respiratory depression, a potentially life-threatening situation where breathing becomes dangerously slow or shallow. Elderly patients or those with liver problems may also be more susceptible to the medication's effects, as their bodies process the drug differently. Consider a hypothetical scenario. A patient with panic disorder, accustomed to taking 0.5 milligrams of clonazepam twice daily, unknowingly receives a mislabeled bottle containing 2 milligram tablets. Trusting the label, they take their usual dose, not realizing they've just quadrupled their intake. Within hours, they might experience extreme drowsiness, struggle to think clearly, and have difficulty maintaining their balance. If this patient also has asthma, the risk of respiratory complications increases significantly. The full scope of health risks associated with this labeling error extends beyond immediate adverse effects. Long-term consequences could include unintended dependency or withdrawal symptoms for those who unknowingly take higher doses. Conversely, patients who receive underdosed medication might experience a resurgence of their original symptoms, potentially leading to breakthrough seizures or severe anxiety attacks. As more patients continue to take their prescribed clonazepam, unaware of the potential danger lurking in their medicine cabinets, the impact of this error grows exponentially. In the high-stakes world of prescription medications, even the smallest oversight can have catastrophic consequences. But what happens when the very system designed to protect patients becomes the last line of defense against a potentially deadly mistake? At pharmacies across the country, a well-rehearsed dance unfolds daily. Pharmacists and technicians receive prescriptions, verify their accuracy, and carefully count out the correct number of pills. They cross-reference patient information, check for potential drug interactions, and ensure the medication matches the doctor's orders. It's a process designed to catch errors before they reach patients, but it's not infallible. On what seemed like an ordinary day, a pharmacist was going through this familiar routine when something caught their eye. As they prepared to dispense a bottle of clonazepam, they noticed a discrepancy between the carton label and the blister packs inside. The strength printed on the outer packaging didn't match the tablets themselves. It was a subtle difference, one that could easily be overlooked in the fast-paced environment of a busy pharmacy. The pharmacist now faced a dilemma. They needed to verify if this was an isolated incident or part of a larger issue. Carefully, they set the problematic package aside and began checking their entire stock of clonazepam. They consulted with colleagues, comparing notes and examining other bottles. As the investigation unfolded, a pattern emerged. Multiple packages showed the same inconsistency. This discovery highlighted the critical role healthcare professionals play in medication safety. Despite numerous quality control measures earlier in the supply chain, it was the vigilant eye of a pharmacist that ultimately uncovered the error. Their attention to detail potentially saved countless patients from receiving incorrectly dosed medication. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the pharmacists knew they had to act quickly. They documented their findings meticulously, gathering evidence to support their concerns. Then they initiated the reporting process, contacting both the manufacturer, Endo Incorporated, and the relevant regulatory authorities. As the report made its way through official channels, tension mounted. How widespread was this labeling error? How many patients might have already received mislabeled medication? The pharmacist's discovery set in motion a chain of events that would soon ripple across the entire healthcare system. Upon receiving the report, Endo Incorporated immediately launched a full-scale investigation. Teams of quality control experts, regulatory specialists, and manufacturing personnel were mobilized to trace the source of the error and assess its scope. As the company delved deeper into the issue, the true extent of the problem began to emerge. With each passing hour, the urgency to contain the error intensified. A race against time had begun to identify all affected lots, halt their distribution, and prevent any more mislabeled clonazepam from reaching patients. The next crucial step would be to initiate a recall, but first, Endo Incorporated needed to understand the full scale of the problem they were facing. What happens when a simple labeling mistake becomes a matter of life and death? As Endo Incorporated prepared to make a decision that would impact countless patients, they were about to trigger a complex chain of events that few outside the pharmaceutical industry ever see. With the full extent of the mislabeling issue now clear, Endo Incorporated faced a critical choice: initiate a voluntary recall or risk potential harm to patients. The company didn't hesitate. They quickly set in motion the intricate process of recalling a widely distributed medication, a task fraught with logistical challenges. The first step involved notifying the FDA, who would oversee and classify the recall based on the level of risk. Given the potential for significant, possibly life-threatening respiratory depression in patients taking maximum doses or those with pulmonary conditions, the FDA designated this as a Class 1 recall, their most serious classification. Next came the daunting task of communicating the recall to healthcare providers and patients across the country. Endo began sending written notifications to wholesale accounts and retailers who had received the affected product lots. These notifications outlined the issue and provided instructions for returning the medication. Simultaneously, the company advised consumers to immediately discontinue use of the recalled clonazepam and consult their physicians if they had taken an incorrect dose. The logistics of returning affected products presented another layer of complexity. Endo partnered with Inmar Incorporated to manage the return of all existing inventory. This involved coordinating with thousands of pharmacies, wholesalers, and individual patients to ensure every mislabeled package was accounted for and safely disposed of. As the recall unfolded, the true scope of the issue became apparent. 16 lots of clonazepam across multiple strengths were affected, potentially impacting thousands of patients nationwide. The scale of the recall highlighted the far-reaching consequences of what had initially seemed like a minor packaging error. Despite the potential risks, Endo reported that no adverse events associated with the mislabeled products had been reported prior to the recall announcement. However, this provided little comfort as the company and health authorities raced to prevent any potential harm. With the recall now in full swing, attention shifted to mitigating the impact on patients who relied on clonazepam for managing their anxiety or seizures. The challenge now lay in ensuring these individuals could safely transition to correctly labeled medication without interrupting their essential treatment. While Endo Incorporated had initiated the recall, the real work was just beginning. Imagine the chaos as thousands of patients suddenly found themselves without access to a medication they relied on daily. How would this disruption affect their lives? And what challenges would healthcare providers face in managing the fallout? The immediate aftermath of the clonazepam recall set off a flurry of activity across the healthcare system. Pharmacies scrambled to remove affected lots from their shelves and inventory systems. Healthcare providers rushed to identify patients who might have received mislabeled medication, combing through prescription records and reaching out to individuals one by one. However, contacting every affected patient proved to be a daunting task. Some had moved or changed phone numbers, while others simply didn't respond to messages. This communication gap left many uncertain about whether they were taking the correct dosage of their medication. As news of the recall spread, concerns about potential medication shortages emerged. Patients worried about accessing their next refill, while pharmacies and wholesalers worked to secure additional supplies of correctly labeled clonazepam. This sudden demand spike put pressure on the supply chain, potentially leading to temporary shortages in some areas. For patients who relied on clonazepam to manage anxiety disorders, the recall had a significant psychological impact. Many experienced increased stress and worry about the safety of their medication. Some even considered discontinuing their treatment out of fear. Despite the risks associated with abruptly stopping benzodiazepines, healthcare providers found themselves in a challenging position, needing to balance patient safety with the importance of maintaining consistent treatment. They worked to reassure anxious patients, explore alternative options when necessary, and carefully monitor for any adverse effects related to the mislabeling. The long-term consequences of the recall began to take shape. Patient trust in pharmaceutical companies and the medication safety system was shaken. Studies have shown that such incidents can lead to a decline in medication adherence, particularly among those with chronic conditions like anxiety disorders. Surprisingly, despite the potential risks, no immediate adverse events directly linked to the mislabeling were reported in the wake of the recall. This absence of reported incidents, however, did little to alleviate the anxiety and disruption experienced by patients and healthcare providers alike. As the dust began to settle, the clonazepam recall sparked a broader conversation about medication safety. Industry experts, regulators, and healthcare professionals began examining every step of the pharmaceutical supply chain, searching for ways to prevent similar errors in the future. The clonazepam recall illustrates how a small packaging error can cascade into a nationwide health concern. It underscores the critical need for vigilance at every stage of the pharmaceutical supply chain. Manufacturers, packagers, distributors, pharmacists, and patients all play vital roles in ensuring medication safety. Enhanced labeling standards and rigorous quality checks are essential to prevent similar errors in the future. As consumers, we can take proactive steps to protect ourselves. Familiarize yourself with your medications, including their appearance and typical dosage. Stay informed about potential recalls through resources like the FDA's MedWatch program. By remaining vigilant and engaged, we can help safeguard our health and contribute to a more robust medication safety system. Thank you for watching. If you found this information helpful, share it with others so we can continue to build a well-informed community. Stay informed, stay empowered.